All right, so Rick and Morty season 6, episode 6 has just come out, and the plot of this episode is pretty much this. Seemingly out of the blue, Earth's old rulers return. They make a great case for changing the way society does business, but Rick isn't going to put up with it. All right, let's get into the good parts of this episode. And pretty much, the plot doesn't say exactly what these old rulers are, but pretty much they're just dinosaurs who can speak English, all right? Maybe they can speak other languages and I just didn't pick up on it. But for this episode, they speak English and they rule the world. And pretty much any world that they go to, whether it's Earth or any type of planet or whatever, we find out that, there's this meteor that's trying to destroy it. And the meteor makes this really weird sounds while it's destroying or about to destroy the planet. Another part of the episode that I liked was that pretty much these dinosaurs eventually convince Earth to take it easy. You guys are working too hard. You're forcing yourselves to work too hard. And eventually everyone decides, you know what? We don't want to do jobs anymore. We don't want to pay taxes. We don't want to do all that stuff. And it gets to the point where they're doing this big press tour thing. And Jerry was working on a book and the dinosaurs use that book, but they don't give Jerry any type of credit. So because they believe in the world coming together and peace and all types of stuff, which I think is an interesting concept in general. And also you can see how this kind of affects certain people, people who have a high motor and like to do stuff. If this all of a sudden just happened to them, how would they react? And I think this episode touches on it a bit, but I wish it kind of touched on that topic a bit more because it is an interesting concept. Also, there's this other thing where, once Summer is one of the people that are affected by it, and she no longer can get status from social media and stuff, and she throws her phone away and she's like, oh, what am I supposed to do now? Just call people? And I thought that was pretty funny. And overall, the jokes in this episode, I'd say the beginning didn't really work for me. But at the end, there's this certain, scene where Rick throws, I think, the portal thing to the dinosaurs' ship, and then eventually they slowly start coming back, and then Rick starts running. I thought that was pretty funny, but overall the jokes were kind of a miss for me. And, Rick and Morty's jokes, at least for the later seasons, have always kind of been that way for me. The next criticism that I have isn't really a criticism for this episode, but it's just something I noticed where, there was just something on my YouTube timeline or whatever that said that Rick and Morty had an incest problem, and that is true. Last episode was literally about Jerry trying not to bang his mom for 20 straight minutes. That was pretty much the episode. That's how I would describe it to a friend who wanted to know what this week's or last week's episode was about. You also had the two Beths going at it. I know that's not really incest, but you know what I mean. Also, Summer and Morty had that incest baby thing, so I'm not gonna lie, Rick and Morty kind of looking a bit weird with that certain stuff, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully there's not any more incest stuff. I just wanted to point that out because that's something that's been happening. The last thing that I'll say before I give my overall thoughts is pretty much this. I guess we're just not going to go back to what episode 1 set up, and I am kind of disappointed because once again, I don't think this is a bad episode. I swear I've been saying the same stuff for the past couple of weeks. This is not a bad episode at all, but from what episode 1 decided to show us, I was excited for the overall season. And for some reason, the writers of the show gave us this promising episode and then just decided not to go back to it. How are you going to start off the season off with that storyline and then just not talk about it, not mention it at all? What was the point of that episode? And this kind of goes back to my theory that because, Rick and Morty has a guaranteed 4 seasons that it has left, they can kind of do whatever they want and they can get away with having mediocre episodes. Once again, I enjoyed this episode, but I really just want to go back to what episode 1 was trying to do. Also, another thing before I give my overall thoughts is that I did like the fact that, Rick had the opportunity to get this portal, gun thing. The dinosaurs already made a version for him that would probably work for years upon years, but because Rick's ego's in the way, he decides, you know what, I don't really want this item. And eventually he gets to make his own item, and they do this funny thing where, he's shooting Morty through multiple portals, and he looks at the camera and is like, oh, more wacky adventures for Rick and Morty. And hopefully we get to see what episode 1 set up, but overall, guys, I did enjoy this episode. Have you guys seen Rick and Morty season 6, episode 6? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know in the comments. And those are my thoughts on that.